अभी कुछ ही समय में डॉक्टर विपिन जी सजोशी का प्रवचन शुरू होने जा रहा है, तो आप सभी से नम्र विनंती है कि आप इसी लिंक का उपयोग करें।
सविता जी प्लीज गो है।
चलिए मैं एक भजन सुना देती हूँ जब तक डॉक्टर साहब पधारते हैं। तो आज मैत्री की बात चल रही है। संसार के हर जीव में महावीर बसा है। संसार के हर जीव में महावीर बसा है। दुख दो न किसी को, ये उसी ने तो कहा है। दुख दो ना किसी को, ये उसी ने तो कहा है। एक दीप से हर मन में सुनो ज्योत जला दो। पैगाम महावीर का सबको बता दो। पैगाम वीर का सबको ही बता दो। संसार के हर काम से यह काम बड़ा है। दुख दो ना किसी को, ये उसी ने तो कहा है। संसार के हर जीव में महावीर बसा है। दुख दो ना किसी को, ये उसी ने तो कहा है। जय जिनेन्द्र।
Jai Jinendra, everyone. So we are starting an English session. Thank you, Savita ji, for such a melodious bhajan. Thank you. So let me introduce Dr. Bipin Doshi. Jai Jinendra, Pranam. It is honor to introduce Dr. Bipin Doshi, a notable Jain scholar from Mumbai, India. By profession, Dr. Doshi is a physician, now dedicated to community service for many years. Dr. Doshi is a Jain philosopher. He has played pivotal role in establishing the Jain chair at Mumbai University and Jainology department at Sumandip Vidyapith. Dr. Bipin Doshi is also accomplished author. He has penned many books. Additionally, Dr. Doshi has conducted research on ancient Jain personalities and has produced multiple dramas on such topics. He has also served as a vice president of Virayathan. He is a founder, secretary, and past president of G2 Apex. He is also involved with Jain Vishwabharati Institute. And in this Paryushan lecture series on the subject Practical Jainism, Basics of Jain Philosophy, and today's session is on Sadharmik Bhakti. These sessions will be recorded and be available on Jaina YouTube channel. So without any further ado, please welcome Dr. Bipin Doshi. Jai Jinendra. Dr. Doshi, if you can unmute yourself.
No, still can't hear you.
We can hear you.
We are not.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Remember, I'm not as good as you people are in technology. Okay. Pranam to everybody. Today, my subject is going to be Sadharmik Bhakti. While going through the literature, I realized that it's not a big topic, and probably half an hour is more than enough. But at the same time, I decided to give you some one more subject also. So briefly, we will be talking about two subjects today. One will be Sadharmik Bhakti and a brief introduction to the concept of Anekantvad, which is very much discussed and very few people know the basic understanding of Anekantvad. Along with that, I'll be also try to define what is Syadvad, what is Saptapangi, and also what is Naivad, very briefly. So first we'll start with the concept of Sadharmik Bhakti. Uh, Remember, I would like to have the slide share.
Have you shared with me? I haven't received it yet. Or you can share. You can share your screen. You have rights.
You're given the rights?
Yes,
Yeah,
you have right,
I give you.
Bipin bhai.
Okay, okay, okay. Can you see the?
Yes.
Okay. So today we usually feel that Sadharmik Bhakti is helping our co-religionist for the need they have, maybe in terms of food, maybe in terms of medicine, maybe in terms of education, etc., etc. But that was not the real concept of Sadharmik Bhakti. So today we'll just start understanding that how this concept of Sadharmik Bhakti has started, what change has occurred over a period of time, and there are some questions which arise out of this concept. So first of all, a simple definition of Sadharmik Bhakti is devotion towards a co-religionist. If we look at the Indian tradition, Bhakti is a term which is very commonly used in most of the Indian dharmas, and it means attachment to the divine power, fondness for the divinity, devotion to a particular god, or a trust, homage, worship, pity, faith, or love, etc. There are a number of words which can be used for the word bhakti. However, in Jainism, bhakti is a spiritual activity, and that is only for the spiritual upliftment. Dharmic means one who is religious, but remember, dharmic means one who is virtuous or holy, not otherwise. You cannot consider a person to be a dharmic because we are talking about sadharmic bhakti. That means our bhakti has got to be to someone who is dharmic and not the person who is not holy. This is the basic concept. Obviously, today we don't follow number of these things, but I'm trying to give you how it started. Now, what was the purpose of Sadharmik Bhakti? Devotion towards co-religionists so that they can have time for religious activities. What we call six avashyak or six essential duties of Shravak. Actually, in practice today, it's providing essential things to one who is needy for spiritual activities. Now, I'm putting the word spiritual activity all the time. Sadharmik Bhakti, let's take an example of a small town And there are about 100 families, Jain families, and the Chaturmas is going on. Our Guru Bhagwan realized that out of 100 families, there are 5 families who are not coming. And Guru Bhagwan is asking that why these 5 families are not coming. I'm just giving you an example. And somebody says that Guru Bhagwan, uh, Gurudev, how they can come? Because they have to earn their livelihood. They cannot spend their time over here and do Samaik, Pratikraman, or listen to your discourses or any other spiritual activity, though it may be Chaturmas, it may be Paryushan. Now, this is what stuck to Guru Bhagwan in those days, Acharyas on those days. He said, how you, I mean, it's very, unfortunate that your Jain families cannot come for the essential spiritual activities which they are supposed to do because they have to earn the livelihood even on these days of Paryushana or these days of Chaturmas, whatever we can call it. So everybody collectively thought that no, these people want to come for spiritual upliftment. They want to attend all the activities which are going in our sthanak or derasar, but they cannot come. So let's help them so that those days when there is something which is very important going in our derasar or sthanak, they can leave their job, they can leave their work, they can leave their profession and come for observing the 6 essential duties or the spiritual activity which Sravak is supposed to do. The purpose should not be lost because there is something, if you read the 8 important aspects of Samyak Darshan, there is one word which is used, is called Sthirikarana. Sthirikarana is keeping your near and dear or the people whom you know in the religious or the spiritual activities. Provide them all that necessary help or the comfort so that they can observe the spiritual activities. Remember, if we go to the ancient literature, Sadharmik Bhakti is not a social activity. Today, almost, Sadharmik Bhakti has become something like a social activity. Obviously, I'm not opposing this. Don't try to think that I'm opposing it. But I'm trying to say that the concept was different. Now, let us understand what are the 6 essential duties that we are supposed to do. Because this is for what the Sadharmik Bhakti had started. Obviously, any Shravak is supposed to follow 6 essential duties which we call 6 Avashyak. The one is Chauvisanto, that is recitation of names of present 24 Tirthankaras with their virtues and the benefits which we have, and what we call Logassa. Then we have a Vandana, worshipping Tirthankaras or Guru Bhagwant. You need to go to Derasar or Sadhu Bhagwant who are present in nearby area and worship them. This is our second activity. The third activity is that you are supposed to practice Samaik. Samaik is not only a ritual practice, but it is a practice by which you get the equanimity throughout the year. It's not that you do Samaik for a few days and then there is, it's like working hard and not getting the result is not right thing. Samaik actually is, as I told you, is a spiritual practice by which you learn to remain into equanimity. You do it in 48 minutes, fine. But, there are incidences in the life. I always call that in the morning when you get up, there are bound to be some googly ball coming from either friends or relative or some family member. And it's very important how you play it. I remember one incident that I'd gone to my friend's house and he told me that my mother daily takes 4 Samaiks. So I was very happy. 4 Samaiks per day. Obviously, she was a retired lady and she had ample time to do Samaik. But After some time, I realized that when the servant, a lady servant, came little late, this lady started shouting at her. Why have you come late? Today is an important day, and blah, 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 blah. I say, realized, what is the use of Samaik? When you do 4 Samaiks a day, and when your lady servant comes little late, you just blow out. That's not right. That's not the true way of having equanimity. So those of us who are doing Samaik has to realize that this is a practice to develop the concept of Samata Bhava or equanimity. Then obviously you have a Pratikraman. Now there is some people say that it's not possible for us to do Samaik 48 minutes in the morning or in the evening or any day. And some people say, oh, Pratikraman is very difficult. I usually feel that yes, because of the life which we are living, sometimes the Samaik and Pratikraman may be difficult because of the time constraint. But even if you meditate for few minutes in the morning, meditate few minutes, whatever time you have, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and just be in the state of equanimity and try to ask yourself that whether I would remain in Samatha Bhav today or not, and I will try my level best to remain in Samatha Bhav. As I told you, there are bound to be some googly ball coming to you, but I'll play them very wisely and will not blow up anytime in my today's life. I mean, today. So, even if you could do that, gradually you practice equanimity. As far as Pratikraman is concerned, yes, again, ideally you should do, ritual as as it is prescribed in our literature or in our scripture. But even if you can't do that, before you sleep, just before you sleep, recite Naukar mantra or any other. You can recite Logas, Naukar mantra, Namantanu, whatever you or Iriyavayaye, whatever you want to recite. It's not that you should recite these one only. Whatever you like and whatever you can recite. One day you can recite Naukar mantra. One day you might, if you have a little more time, you can think about Uvasagaram Stotra. And if you have still little more time, you can think about Bhaktamba Stotra. Just keep a small book in front of you or Logas or any other scripture reading. And just think that, okay, I don't have a time to do complete Pratikraman, but let me think about, have I done anything wrong today? Have I angered on somebody? Have I, gone beyond my requirement, which I call greed? Or have I done something by which someone was hurt? And if that has happened, so I really confess it. I confess it to the divinity. I confess it to myself. Now, this confession, and even sometime, I usually, I tell my friends that suppose you have done something to somebody, before you go to sleep, just send a small message. Now we have got a very good facility of sending a message. Just tell him or her that I'm sorry, Michhami Dukram. A little message from your side might, change your relationship. It will not only change your relationship with others, but it will also, elevate yourself spiritually. So there are many ways of doing Pratikraman. Just remember that there are 3 people with whom you had some, sort of a quarrel or some sort of a conflict during that day particularly, and sending 3 small message that I'm so sorry about whatever has happened today. Even if you are not at fault, let me tell you, even if you are not at fault, and if you write Michhami Dukram, the other fellow realizes that, okay, you are thinking about this and you are responsive about what you have done. So this is about the Pratikraman. Then obviously there is what we call Pachakana. It's a self-resolution for not repeating the misdeeds. Actually, unfortunately, after doing Pratikraman, we do Pachkan. And Pachkan is of what? That, okay, now I will not take anything. I will not eat anything. The Chavyar Pachkan. or TVR. Some people take TVR. Some people, because of the health issues, I usually tell them to take TVR. Keep in case you need a water, please drink it, because especially in the seniors, drying of your skin or many more things can happen if you are not consuming the water enough. So you can take Chavyar or TVR, but that's one part of it. Actually, the Pachkan means that whatever mistakes you have done, whatever misdeeds you have done, you will not repeat that. You will remember that, okay, this was my mistake and I will not repeat it. Otherwise, you do one mistake, you ask for confession and you repeat the mistake. You ask for the confession, repeat the mistake. No, that is not the right way of pratikraman. It actually becomes atikraman. So, Pachkan is the fifth essential duty, and obviously Kausagga. Now, this sixth one is a bit difficult for many of us. Kausag doesn't mean that you just recite Naukar mantra or you recite Logasa. Kausag really means that, it's self-realization. Who am I? As I told you on the first day, am I this body? Am I the owner of this wealth? Am I the owner of this position? No, that's not so. Actually, I am a pure soul. This is by my karmic particles that I'm in this particular state right now, and I should try to detach from whatever is possible. So actually, before you sleep, you actually plan that what am I going to do tomorrow? Tomorrow, and that is more attachment. How many money I am going to earn tomorrow? How many relations I am going to create tomorrow? How many other things which I am going to do tomorrow? So our focus is the next day. Focus is not detachment. Our next day focus is usually attachment. Here, Tirthankar Paramatma tells us that try to remain detached, not attached. So this is the last essential which we are supposed to do. Remember, if you say that I am Jain, and if actually people say that why do you go for Savansari Pratikraman? I said most of the Jains go for Savansari Pratikraman only to renew their license of being Jain. Like we have to renew our many licenses every year or every 2 years or every 3 years. So Pratikraman is, Savansari Pratikraman is like, renewing your license. I think that should not happen. You can do Samaik daily. You can do Pratikraman daily. Obviously, in USA, probably you don't have a Guru Bhagwan around, or you may be staying little away from Derasar. But yes, you can definitely create a small place of worship in your own house and see that you bow down to that place or worship that whatever guru you have, whatever Tirthankara's picture you have kept or whatever idol you have kept, just a minute or two. May not be, I'm not saying that you do it for everybody are in rush, but whatever time is possible, you should do it. So these are 6 essentials. So if a person is not able to do 6 essentials, then he is not Jain, or he cannot be considered a Jain. But there are people who wants to do it, but can't do it because of many adversities in the family. Maybe it's a medical adversities, maybe it's an economical adversities, maybe it is some social adversities, or maybe something happening in the family by which he cannot give his time to the spiritual activities which he is supposed to do. So Guru Bhagwan gave one, what I would say, important dictum in our scripture. He says that doing so many ritual activities on one side, suppose you take a scale and put all your spiritual activities on one side and helping one sadharmik on the other side. The other side where you have done your sadharmik bhakti is heavier than all the rituals which you follow. This is the importance given to sadharmik bhakti. Again, in those days, the sadharmik bhaktis were not done for the social activities. Now, what are the 5 essential duties that we are supposed to do during Paryushanas? Obviously, there are many duties, but these 5 are considered to be absolutely essential. Absolutely essential if you really want to call yourself Jain. It is one of the 5 major mandatory duties during Paryushana requires to be observed by Shravak. One of them means the Sadharmik Bhakti is one of the mandatory duty. 5 major activities or 5 major mandatory duties, and Sadharmik Bhakti is one of them. I will just briefly describe these 5 essential duties which Shravak is supposed to do during Paryushana. The first one is called Amari Pravartana. Follow non-violence and make others to follow the same. All activities to propagate ahimsa. This is our first duty because ahimsa is the root, or it's at the base of our spiritual or our dharma. The second one is Sadharmik Bhakti, helping co-religionists for spiritual upliftment. The third one is penance, to train ourselves for restraint or sanyam. Penance is done usually. See, the simple definition of penance or tap is ichha nirodhasya tapaha. That means you have a lot of desires, you have a lot of things you want to do it. Control yourself, restrain yourself, and that's why the word which we use is sanyam. Chaitya paripati, worshipping nearby chaityas or temples or of Sadhu Bhagwant. Again, though it is not possible nowadays, but in those days, Sangha. That means many people used to go walking from one place to another place where other Sadhu Bhagwans were there, nearby Upashray or nearby Derasar, and just pay the respect to them and also worship the Tirthankaras in the other nearby Derasar. So this, sometimes we also Panchatirtha. That's what the common thing which we are doing right now. But again, we are using the motor vehicles and all that, which is actually not the right way of doing Panchatithi. The last one is Kshamapna, is also ask for forgiveness and forgive others. Obviously, I'm going to take a full lecture on Kshamapna, forgiveness. What is the scientific concept or the scientific base of forgiveness? Forgiveness is not only a ritual or a spiritual practice, but how it is related to our functional MRI, how it is related to the various hormone production, how it is related with establishing our relationship with other people. So there's going to be a lot about my talk on scientific aspects of forgiveness, because there are many clinics which has opened up all over the world, and they name them as a forgiveness clinic, and people are benefited with this particular concept or the activity. So these are the 5 essential mandatory duties which every Shravak is supposed to perform during Paryushan. Now, this is not called help, or this is not called as a service. This is called bhakti. In other religion like Christianity, they use the word service, but we call it bhakti because this is to be done with respect and gratitude. See, when we do something for somebody else, just thank him that, okay, you gave me an opportunity to earn the meritorious karmas. In Hindi, if I would say that, आपने मुझे पुण्य प्राप्त करने का अवसर दिया. You're so nice to me, or I should convey my gratitude. It's not that, okay, you don't have anything and I got a lot of things, so I'm giving you. No, it cannot be given with that type of attitude. Because again, the word which we are using is bhakti. We are not using it as a seva or service or help or assistantship or anything. So we have to do bhakti, where we have to give a respect and gratitudes to the receiver. In a way, it is a vayavach. See, people have very wrong notion about vayavach. People usually feel that vayavach means only serving sadhu. Yes, that is there. But if you read the vayavach in the 12 of our penances, vayavach can be to any deceased person, vayavach can be to any Sadhu Bhagwan, vayavach can be to your elderly people, vayavach can be to the people who are in need of something. So vayavach is sort of a bhakti to somebody who needs it or who has got that, who requires that without any passions. See, the Vayavach is put as an penance, and penance also as an internal penance. Why it is put as a penance? Because the meaning of Vayavach is that you do something without any expectation. Mohaniya karma should not get attached when you are doing something good for the other people. Actually, I mean, sometimes we see that, okay, people go on talking. I have made 5 dharamsalas, I have got 1 temple, I have done this, I have done that, I have done that. That means, I mean, obviously, it's good that they have done it. But, having an ego or having an attachment to what you have done is also not considered as Vayavach. Vayavach is very simply do something without any passion, without mohaniya karma. That's how it is described. Doing a punya is one part, and doing a punya without passion is nirjara. I'll give you very simple. If you do, say, you started a school. Now, if you start a school, you have done a good activity. Fine. You earn punya or meritorious karmas with that. But you keep an attachment that, okay, I did it, nobody could do it. Then you get a meritorious karmas on one side, the otherwise you also get the mohaniya karma. So this is what we have to understand when we do a good work. Now, it's not only about the money. Sadharmik Bhakti doesn't mean that you give only money or some requirements. Even if you bring one person who is handicapped from his house or her house to Upashya or Derasar, that is also called Sadharmik Bhakti. Sadharmik Bhakti, it doesn't mean that you only give money and the essential things. It is not charity or help, but it is an opportunity to shed off our Danantarai karma, a type of Antarai karma. See, we have a lot of Antarai karmas. You know about the 4 Ghati karmas: Gnana Varniya karma, Darshana Varniya karma, Mohaniya karma, and Antarai karma. What we mean by Antarai karma is that yes, there was a possibility of some benefits or some gains, but you could not get it because your Antarai karma obstructed that thing which would have come to you. So if you really want to get rid of your Antarai karma, this is the opportunity. So, especially the Danantarai karma. The idea is that let my sadharmik remain in peace and bliss. That's my focus. My focus is not, now, oh my God, it's not an act of mercy, it's not an act of pity, but it's an act of gratitude by which I want my sadharmik to remain in peace and bliss. Now, obviously, how to do sadharmik bhakti? It should be done without any passion like anger, ego, deceit, and greed. It should be done with purity and love. You should be happy when you are giving something to, there is one incidence of in the life of Mr. Ratan Tata. I heard this from one of his very close friend. My friend is working with one of the Institute of Physically Handicapped Children. And they wanted some tricycles, about 100 tricycles. He went to Ratan Tata. He knew Ratan Tata very well. And he said, sir, I want 100 tricycles for this institution. So obviously, the family is a philanthropic family. He said, okay, no problem. He called his accountant and he told him that, okay, here is Santibai. And whatever money he needs for buying that 100 tricycles, you give it to him. Santibai said, no, sir, I don't want money that way. I have one condition, that whenever these tricycles are distributed, you will come to our institution. Ratan Tata said that why you want to bother me for such a small thing? I mean, we do all such things so many times and we can't go to all the places and it's a bit difficult. So excuse me for not coming, but whatever money you want, I will give you, or we will give you. Santibai insisted, no, sir, I want you to come. Then only I will accept this donation from you. And ultimately, Ratan Tata said that, okay, I will I'll make it a point to be present. So they arranged the time and date and everything accordingly. And Ratan Tata went there and donated these tricycles. And then he writes in his diary that I had many wonderful days in my life, but this was the most wonderful day in my life when I saw the act of love, act of compassion, the act of sympathy, the act of, something from the eyes of these children when I donated these tricycles to them. So, like it's like, and I'm indebted to him for giving me this opportunity to do this bhakti. So it's like you have to thank the person who receives it. Unfortunately, nowadays what happens, especially in India, or I don't know about the America, but especially in India, we appoint somebody to help the people who need either ration or who need some medicines. And the person who is looking after this job is many times I have found that they are like, very stubborn people, and they ask so many questions, and they, I mean, as if they are, I mean, the way they are supposed to do, they are not doing. I always tell my trustees that helping Sadharmik should be done by the trustees, not by the staff, with love and compassion. Sit with them for a few minutes, ask them what other difficulties they have. Also, try to find out how you can help that family in many other ways. If the children are studying, see that they have a good school, see that they have enough money for the education. So unless and until we don't do this, then the purpose of Sadharmik Bhakti is lost. As people would say that it is the same on our part. If my Sadharmik is in distress, pain or miseries, at least I may not be able to take care of so many people in the world, but my community is a very small community. Let me put a figure very clearly that we are 92% of us are comparatively, I'm not saying wealthy, but we are happy in the sense that economically, socially, there are only 8% of the people who have problem. So how come that 92% cannot take care of other 8%? So it's very easy. Only we have to change our attitude and think that Sadharmik Bhakti is a part of our spiritual activities. Obviously, this is something which I don't want to discuss more in detail, but this is a scripture which describes the types of Sadharmik Bhakti, which is called Sarana, Varana, Choyana, and Parichoyana. Remind Sadharmik about their duties, prevent Sadharmik from sinful activities, inspire Sadharmik for dharmic activities, and inspire Sadharmik for dharmic activities again and again. So this is kind of the Sadharmik Bhaktis which are described in our scripture. Obviously, there is a story of Tirthankar Sambhavnath in his previous life. When he was an emperor, he did a lot of Sadharmik Bhakti, and he earned the Tirthankar Nama Karma and became Tirthankar Sambhavnath. We also know the story of Punya Shavak. Punya Shavak and his wife had resolved to earn only 12 doklas, 1/12 of the rupees a day. But then Tirthankar Mahavir told him to do Sadharmik Bhakti. Now, one side he had taken the vow of aparigraha, alpa parigraha, and the other side, Tirthankar Mahavir is telling him to, feed somebody. So what he does, one day his wife keeps fasting, the other day he keeps on fasting, and whatever is saved out of that fasting is given to the person who is in need. So, this is how the story of Punya Shavak is very much there in our scripture. And we have a story of Srimad Rajchandra, who forgave a loan of fellow Sadharmik without anyone knowing about it, to help him remain in his dignity and continue to come for the spiritual group studies, of which he had, shilled away out of the same, that, okay, I can't give this money, how can I go? Obviously, then we have a story of Abu Sangpati. There are a number of stories which we see in the literature. Story of King Bharat, Raja Kumarpal, Seth Jagru Shah. Obviously, there's a tonk at Palitana which is called Savasoma tonk. We have created a drama on this particular incidents. That's also, great story about Sadharmik. Obviously, Vastupal, Tejpal, Shravika, Lakshmi. So there are many of such stories which we read or the incidences which read. But here there are a few questions. Uh, I don't want to discuss this question, but this question arises in our mind. Is it Tirthankar Mahavir's teaching to help only co-religionists or with sectarian bias? This is what we are doing as on today. Tirthankar Mahavir's religion was not Bahujana Hitaya, it was Sarvajana Hitaya. So, there are people who ask me, I have a family member, and he says that, Uncle, don't tell me that I should help only Jains. You give me an institution where everybody is helped. And I would only give my donation to that institution. But if you restrict my donation to only Jains, then I will not do it. So there are people who says that the right teaching of Tirthankar Mahavir cannot be focus only on the people of our community. We have co-religionists for food, house, education, healthcare, economical empowerment, political empowerment, etc. There are many religious or Jain NGOs doing these noble activities, but one question bothering us is whether the recipient follow Jain principles and practice or not. So if I'm helping somebody, I must see that the family is following Jain principles and practices. Especially, they should be vegetarian. That's most important part that we have to take care of. And believe in Naukar mantra. At least once in a while, they should go to Upashraya and Derasar, or at least they should inculcate the Jain principles and values in their children. Now, here in India, there is a lot of discussion going on right now. I wanted to bring to your notice because many of you are in USA. One glaring issue is helping students to go abroad, where the family loses its identity of being Jain after 1 or 2 generations, as most of the children born in foreign land are not exposed to Jain values. This is becoming a very critical issue. Obviously, institutions like Jain Jagruti, Jito, Jain Social Group, My Jain Vidyalay, we all help help the students who want to make their career go abroad and uh, and flourish. Obviously, there are people who says that our students have gone abroad, they have kept the Jain values. Most of you have come from India and you have kept Jain values. There are so many, there are sir, in USA now or in London, in UK. And because of you people who have gone from here to the other parts of the world, you have taken your roots there, you have established the temple of peace. I don't call Derasar, it's a temple of peace. And you have taken the concept of non-violence or a concept of vegetarianism from one place to another place. So actually, Jains going abroad has actually spread the religion. So, but then there are people who says that yes, that's fine for 1 generation or 2 generation, but what will happen after few generations? So yes, there are questions, there are things which are for it, and there are again against it. At the same time, there is one very important argument that if our sadharmik is not taken care of, will our dharma survive? So these are some of the questions which come in our mind. Obviously, we are at presently defining bhakti is redefined nowadays. What we call one is Vayavach, which is serving to Sadhu Bhagwan. The Sadharmik Bhakti, where we use the bhakti for our co-religionist with gratitude and purity. And the third word we use is charity, where we don't look at who is receiver, helping needy people irrespective whether they are religious or whether they are virtuous or not. Anybody who needs help, we will give it to them. Obviously, this is an individual choice. Person can decide himself. What I wanted to just convey to you that the concept of Sadharmik Bhakti, when it was evolved, had a very different meaning. And today, the meaning has changed. Whether it is right, whether it is wrong, yes, it's a question of, or it's an issue of debate. So we'll not go into the debate. My idea was only to draw your attention that Sadharmik Bhakti is done spiritually and for the spiritual upliftment. Other things could be charity, others could, could be any other word which we may use. But try to understand that Sadharmik Bhakti is basically a spiritual activity for the spiritual upliftment of your co-religionist. So this is all about Sadharmik Bhakti. And obviously I have another 15 minutes or so, 17 minutes or so. I'll just very briefly tell you about Anekant. I'll just spend about 10 minutes on that. And so we'll have another 7 minutes for the question and answer. I'll share my other PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Can you see that? Hello?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, we
yes.
can see.
Okay, okay. Now see, Anekant Syadvad Naivad. We talk about this word, when somebody asks you what are the three cardinal principles of Jainism, and we usually say Ahimsa, Aparigraha, and Anekant. 3 A's. And you listen to this by many scholars all over the places. Obviously, non-violence or ahimsa is understood well. Aparigraha or alpa parigraha, minimalism is also understood very well. But Anekant is actually misunderstood. When you ask somebody Anekant, they usually say that Anekant means, respect all, respect the perspective of all people, all the others. Now, this is the beginning. This is not the end. Anekant just doesn't stop only in respecting the perspectives given by other people. It's something more than that, and that's what I would like to stress upon. See, the knowledge in Jainism is within the soul. The knowledge does not come from outside, and it manifests according to the status of our Gnana Varniya Karma. And there are 5 types of knowledge: Mati Gyan, Shuddha Gnan, Avadhi Gnan, Manaparyo Gnan, and Keval Gyan. It's not a time to go into that detail. But, while exchanging of knowledge with each other, we need to understand the important concept of Jain logic. This whole concept of Anekant and Syadvad is called as Jain logic. It's a big subject as far as the Jain logic is concerned. Now, what does the Anekantvad mean? That there is a multi-sideness. Anekant means multi-sideness. The doctrine of non-absolutism, every view is right in some respect. Obviously, the Syadvad is the doctrine of conditional statement. No view is right in every respect. This is the concept of Anekant and Syadvad. And there are 7 predications which we call Saptabhangi. I'll come to that later on. I just want to show you a very common picture which we see. There are 5 people who are blind, and they go and see the elephant. Not see the elephant, they touch the elephant, and then they describe the elephant in a different way. Now, here what we say is that they are all right, because that's what they could perceive. So the truth is multifaceted. This is the common understanding which we have, but this is not a right understanding. The right understanding is that none of them could perceive the elephant in totality because they were blind. Now here, the meaning of blind is what? We do not see the truth in totality. We all cannot see the truth in totality. Why? Because we are blinded by the passion. This is the meaning of Anekant. Explaining Anekant is not to say that, okay, all the people were blind, so they understood the way they wanted to understood, and that's right. Or that's right from their perspective. Yes, they are right from their perspective. But the lesson learning is that we all cannot, most of us, we cannot see the truth. Only the omniscience can see the truth, because omniscience is not blinded with passions. हमारे जो तीर्थंकर परमात्मा है वहां पैशन नहीं है. There is no anger, there is no deceit, there is no ego, there is no need. And that's why they could see the truth in totality. But we cannot see the truth in totality because we are blinded with passion. This is the learning which is there in this particular picture. Now, when we discuss with somebody, when we are discussing about the knowledge, the other person, see, he has got one, I mean, there are many people around you, let's say, and they are all giving their own perspective. Listening to their own perspective and try to understand those perspectives is the first step of anekant. But it doesn't mean that you accept all of them. You may not accept any one of them. You listen only. So, anekant is a process of a research or a process or a methodology by which you want to reach to the truth. It's not only you stop there and say, they are right in their own ways. Obviously, that could be a social concept. You don't want to have the conflict with other people and don't have the conflict with other people, but you have to really think yourself that let me put this on my spiritual scale and try to find out whether this is right or wrong. He may be saying that way. So coming to the truth while knowing various perspectives, and sometimes it might happen that the perspective of the other person may be better than your own perspective. So it's a learning process. It's a process of analyzing yourself. It's a process by which, it's a methodology by which, a methodology of research, by theory of deduction, mathematical deduction, that okay, you reach to the truth. So anekant is a process or a method to reach to the truth. Now, when we listen to, when we either communicate with the other people, the two things happen. For communicating with other person, first of all, you need a language. You cannot communicate with other people. It may be a sign language or it may be a verbal or the language which we use, but there has to be a language to communicate with the other people. And when you communicate with other people, there are 7 ways of communicating. I'll just come to that also. And that is called Syatvad. Syatvad means a communication, a verbal communication between the two people where the expression is made in a 7 ways, which is called Saptabhangi. Now, here you might ask me, now I'll give you one small example and you can go to the other 7 predications afterwards. Suppose I have a mobile in my hand, okay, and I have a grandchild who comes and looks at me. So what I understand that he needs a mobile. Okay. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at me. And I presume that he needs a mobile. So what I tell him, that see, this is not the toy. I just tell him one word, this is not the toy. That means I have used the concept of nasti, what it is not. Or I might say that this is mobile. Dear, this is mobile. So I use the concept of asti, what it is. What it is asti. What it is not is nasti. And sometimes there is something which I don't know about. So I'll say that I don't know, which is called avaktavyam. So when we talk with somebody, either we use the concept of asti, that what it is, or we use the concept of that what is not, or we do not know. And if you make this permutation and combination, or I might say that, okay, dear, this is mobile, this is not the toy. So I use both the words, asti and nasti. Or sometimes I might say that, okay, dear, this is mobile, this is not toy, but I don't know whose it is. Because, it was just lying there. I don't know whose it is. So I use the 3 concept or 3 predications, asti, nasti, and avaktavyam. So if you make the permutation and combination of these 3 words, asti, nasti, and avaktavyam, then there are 7 predications by the law of permutation and combination, and 7 ways you can express your verbal communication. And you have to look from the, very critically that why the person has said like this, so that there is no conflict. That is the concept of Syatvad. And what is Naivad? Again, simple. Nai is opinion. Nai is my perspective. Whenever we tell something to somebody, our perspective is always added. The definition of Nai is very simple definition. vastu ansagrahi, gnatu abhipraya, nirakruta pratipaksha. That means when teller tells something, he doesn't tell it completely, he tells it partially with his own perspective, but does not oppose the view which is otherwise. That is the definition of Naivad. Again, Syadvad and Naivad are the subject of Jain logic, a very interesting subject. One can go on reading about it. Samanta Bhadraji has written a books on Jain logic, and there are so many Jain logic books available right now. It talks about, ultimately, this is a process of communication. How to communicate with other people, and how to avoid conflict. Not only that, how to come to the truth, how to achieve nearer to the truth. We may not be able to achieve to the total of the truth, because again, the scripture very clearly says that truth can be only achieved by those who are omniscients. Only Keval Jnani can understand the total truth. But yes, if we try and if we understand and practice Anekant, Syadvad and Naivad, then there is a possibility that we can go nearer to the truth. I'll give a very simple example. It is said, Atma is Anitya Nitya. Anitya Nitya. Sorry, the life is Anitya Nitya. So, from soul point of view, it is Nitya. And from the body point of view, it is Anitya. So, it is Nitya Anitya. So, one part is for the soul, the other part is Anitya. Then somebody might say, how can you say Nitya and Anitya both at the same time? So this is how we discuss the logic, and this is how we try to learn about the Jain logic. I had few more minutes, so I just gave an introduction to Anekant, Syadvad, Saptabangi, and Naivad. If the time permits in future, we'll take this as a full blown up subject and discuss more about it. Ultimately, all these Anekant, Syadvad, Naivad or Saptabangi is nothing but to improve our communication with other people and to reach to the truth, analyze the various perspective and try to put it that on the spiritual scale and come nearer to the truth. So thank you very much. 5 minutes remaining. If you have any questions, I would definitely like to answer those questions to the best of my capability.
Thank you, Dr. Doshi. Anyone has a question, please put it in the chat. Yes, we will share the slides once we receive it.
Thank you, Dilip Bhai. Dilip Bhai is there today. Pranam, Dilip Bhai.
If you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask also the question. We have, a few minutes. We would, Dr. Doshi would like to answer your question, your doubts.
Bipin Bhai.
Yes.
Did you get my email I sent to you?
Beg your pardon?
Did you get my email I sent to you?
Yeah, I received your email which I have sent to the Virayatan committee, and we'll work out after the Paryushan whatever best we can do.
Thank you.
Okay.
You mentioned about Nokar Mantra that I should. Who composed Nokar Mantra and when it was done?
Why you want to get into that? Understand the meaning of that. It's said that Naukar Mantra came only in 14th century. But if I tell this, the people who are the staunch believer of Naukar Mantra would say it is a Saswata Mantra. You can't say like that. So let's not go into the in those things,
Just curiosity. That's okay.
Yeah, then we can have a different session on that. What historians believe and what our faith believes are many times do not coincide with each other. So there is always a problem.
We are going to do Pratikaman on Samvasari day. What is the difference between Pratikaman and Atikaman?
Atikaman is offense. Pratikaman is confession.
Atikaman is?
To be an aggressive to other people is Atikraman. And to go back from your aggressiveness is Pratikraman.
Dr. Doshi, we have a question on the chat. How
Yes.
do we elevate ourselves from blind to visionary to see a complete elephant?
So, it's a very good question that I don't want to be blind. I want to be a visionary. See, spiritually speaking, there are only three things. I can tell you again and again. Jain religion is nothing but three words. Dhammo Mangal Mukkitam Ahimsa Sanyamo Tavo. Try to be non-violent as far as possible. Try to be minimalist. Try to follow the minimalism and try to do penance. The meaning of penance is controlling your desire. Penance doesn't mean doing a thigh. Penance doesn't mean doing only Ainbil and all that. That's a part of penance. But the bigger picture of a penance is controlling your all desires which you might have in your life. So three
There are
words.
two,
Okay.
and there are two other questions. I think they are related to, when Paryushana started, and also, the Das Lakshana.
Yeah.
What are the concept behind those and when it started?
Okay. See, see, somebody say that it started in Vadanagar when the Bhruvachayan was there, and the Guru Bhagwan who was present there recited Kalpa Sutra when his son had died for the peace and bliss of that particular Raja, and that's how Paryushan started. However, the literature speaks about, see, basically, I mean, if I want 2 minutes more, no, I can explain you this very nicely. Paryushan is, see, Sadhu Bhagwans were told in our religion or tradition not to travel during the monsoon time, what we call Chaturmas as on today, because of various reasons. And this is applicable especially for our country, I mean, for India. So when they went from one place to another place, all 8 months they were traveling from here to there, and they were not supposed to stay at one place for more than 2 days or 3 days, as far as the Kalpa Sutra is concerned. So they were traveling from one place to another place, and in Chaturmas they were supposed to stay at one place. When they were supposed to stay at one place, they have to take the permission of the king who is ruling that particular area. And they have to call the people around and ask their permission whether I can do my Chaturmas here or not. Sometimes the king may give the permission, or sometimes the king may not give the permission. Now, suppose the king has given a permission to this particular Sadhu Bhagwan to stay in his place or in his kingdom, then he will also ask for the permission to propagate his concept of Jainism. That also he has to take the permission. Now he takes the permission, the particular king who is there gives him a permission, and he starts, telling about his Jain religion or the Jain concept. And there are people who will come to listen to him and try to follow Jainism. Now, દિલીપભાઈ તમારું માઇક બંધ કરશો જરા? Okay. So they try to give these sermons and people follow it. Now, during this time, Kshamapna is done on the first day. Today what we are doing, Samapna is done, or the forgiveness is done on the 8th day of our Paryushan, what we call Savansari Pratikraman, because people get together on that particular day. So we are doing Shamapna. Actually, if you read the literature, the saying is that before you start your Chaturmas, all the people gets collected at one place and they ask for forgiveness, because Guru Bhagwan says that if you have not forgiven each other, if you're not, cleared your heart with other people, how can you sit together and learn about the spirituality or the Jain principles? So the forgiveness has to be on the first day of starting Chaturmas and not on the Savansari day. That's the religious things. And then they decided that okay, there has to be few days where we stop everything and get involved into the spiritual activity in total. And obviously, again, why Bhadrava Sud? The people say that this particular 8 days are very bad days as far as the nakshatras and astronomy is concerned. So you want to remain pure during this 8 days. And so there are so many theories. So let's not, let's understand one thing, that yes, as on today, we all have accepted 8 days And we have all accepted the 10 days according to the Digambar Parampara to follow the spiritual activities where we have an introspection. Paryushan is what? Paryushan is an opportunity to introspect yourself. It's not an opportunity to showcase. It's not an opportunity to tell others that, okay, I'm dharmic. No, it's an opportunity to for the introspection by which we become better after Paryushana. So that's how we should look at it. Historically, there are so many claims and there are so many things which we can think about the evolution of Paryushana. Praveen Bhai has written, Praveen K. Shah has written a beautiful write-up on about Paryushana, which is available on e-library. But again, reading all those things is good for the knowledge part, but at the same time, how it applies to my life, whether I do Paryushana whether I do spiritual activities during this time or not, I can do otherwise also. And ideally, this 8 days learning is 8 days learning is to practice the whole year. Unfortunately, what we do, whole year we don't do anything, and only we do it for 8 days. This is a learning process, and the learning process is for the other time of the year also.
And thank you, Bipin Bhai. And if you can quickly address one last question, what is the significance of 108 or 1008 before pronouncing the name of gurus?
See, 108 is not actually the monopoly of Jains. 108 is probably seen everywhere in our Indian literature, Indian heritage, Hinduism or maybe Buddhism. So 108 is, again, let's understand, it is not the monopoly of Jains. One. Second thing, 108 is, usually we say there are 108 virtues which are described in Navkar Mantra. So we follow 108 number. Again, I said, you can, if you really want to bhav hai na, so you can even recite 8 times, or you can recite even 1 time. It's not necessary that you recite it 108 times. So don't go with these numbers. Don't go into there are so many explanations every Sadhu Bhagavad is trying to give. I always say that even if suppose by mistake I do it for 107 times, if my bhav is good, it is 108 times, or it may be 1 time and it is 108 times. So again, these numbers, according to me, are not important.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Doshi. So again, wanted to thank you for explaining in simple language aspects of Sadharmik Bhakti and Anekant concept. And to the community, recording will be available on Jaina YouTube channel. And please do join tomorrow's session also. Tomorrow's topic in English is Science of Forgiveness. So Dr. Doshi, if you can see Mangalacharan.
Namo Aryantanang, Namo Siddhanang, Namo Airyanang, Namo Vajjanang, Namo Loe Savvasavanang, Eso Panchanamukaro, Savvapava Panasano, Mangalanam Cha Savvesi, Padam Havai Mangalam, Padam Havai Mangalam. आप सब सुख साता में रहे. Thank you.
Jai Jinendra, Jai Jinendra.
Jinendra, thank you everyone.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.